My stepmom always said she loved me like her own daughter, so I played the voicemail she left my dad about getting rid of me. Vera moved in when I was 12, all warm hugs and homemade cookies. She painted my nails, braided my hair, and told everyone we met that I was her bonus daughter. When people complimented how well-behaved I was, she'd beam and say, "Delilah's just naturally sweet. I'm so lucky to have her." For 3 years, I believed every word. Dad traveled for work constantly, international consulting that kept him away for weeks at a time. Vera would take me shopping at expensive boutiques, let me stay up late watching movies she claimed were too mature for other kids my age, and always sided with me during parent-teacher conferences. She'd squeeze my hand conspiratorially and whisper, "You and I understand each other, don't we, sweetheart?" When my bio mom called, drunk and bitter and demanding money, Vera would hand me the phone with a sympathetic smile and whisper, "You don't have to talk to her if you don't want to. I'm your real mom now." I felt guilty for loving her more than the woman who gave birth to me. My bio mom had abandoned me when I was 8, choosing her addiction over motherhood. Vera seemed like a miracle, a woman who actually wanted me, who showed up to every school play and soccer game, who remembered my friends' names and my favorite foods. She even kept a journal about my daily life, writing down funny things I said and milestones I reached. "For when you're older," she'd explain, "so you'll always remember how loved you were." I'd catch her writing in it sometimes, tongue peeking out in concentration, and feel overwhelmed with gratitude. The red flags were so subtle I didn't recognize them as warnings, like how she'd always interrupt when I talked about memories from before she moved in. "Oh, honey, you were so young then. Are you sure that's how it happened?" She'd say it with such gentle concern that I'd start doubting my own recollections, or how she gradually isolated me from Dad's extended family. His sister, Aunt Patricia, had always been close to me, but Vera would schedule conflicting activities during family gatherings. "Delilah has been looking forward to this art class for weeks," she'd tell Dad apologetically. I hate to disappoint her. Aunt Patricia started calling less frequently. Eventually, she stopped calling altogether. Vera also had a way of inserting herself into every conversation I had with Dad. If he asked about school, she'd jump in with elaborate stories about my day before I could answer. If I tried to tell him about a problem I was having, she'd already have researched solutions and would present them as though we'd discussed them together. "Delilah and I think it would be best if," became her constant refrain. Slowly, I started feeling like a supporting character in my own life, but I pushed down my discomfort because Vera's love felt so real. She knew exactly what to say when I was upset, exactly which comfort foods to make when I had a bad day. She helped me with homework every night, braided my hair each morning, and never missed an opportunity to tell people how proud she was of me. "I always wanted a daughter," she'd say, stroking my hair. "You're everything I ever dreamed of." Everything changed the day I came home sick from school early. I'd been battling a stomach bug for 3 days, trying to push through because we had a big chemistry test. But during third period, I threw up in the hallway and the nurse sent me home immediately. I used my key, Vera's idea, so I'd never feel locked out of my own home, and heard her voice coming from the kitchen. She was on the phone, laughing in a way I'd never heard before. Not the warm maternal chuckle I was used to, but something cold and calculating, something predatory. "The little brat actually thinks I care about her," she said, her voice dripping with contempt. "Dennis is so fucking gullible. Of course I'm sweet to his precious daughter. I've been playing this game for 3 years, and he hasn't suspected a thing." My blood turned to ice. I pressed myself against the hallway wall, afraid to breathe. But the second we're married and I get my name on everything, she's gone. I've already found a boarding school in Montana, middle of fucking nowhere. She'll visit holidays if she's lucky, but Dennis will be so busy with our real children, he won't even notice she's not around. I stood frozen in the hallway, my fever forgotten. Our real children. She was pregnant. "I'm not raising another woman's mistake," Vera continued, her voice becoming more vicious with each word. "Especially not one who looks exactly like his ex-wife. Every time I see those eyes, those fucking manipulative eyes, I want to slap the smug right off her face." Her voice rose as she warmed to her subject. "Do you know how hard it's been, pretending to love that spoiled little princess? 3 years of fake hugs and fake bedtime stories and fake interest in her stupid art projects. 3 years of, 'Oh, Delilah, you're so talented,' and 'Oh, Delilah, you're so smart.' I deserve a fucking Oscar." My hand shook as I quietly backed toward the front door. Each word was like a physical blow, shattering everything I thought I knew about my life. The best part? Everyone thinks I'm a saint. Her teachers, the neighbors, even Dennis's parents think I'm Mother of the Year. Who's going to believe a 15-year-old over the woman who's been nothing but loving and patient for 3 years? She laughed again, and the sound made my skin crawl. "I've been documenting everything, building my case, how she's been acting out lately, talking back, her grades slipping. I even have a folder full of her concerning behavior that I've been collecting. By the time this baby comes, little Miss Perfect will be someone else's problem." I slipped out the front door and sat in our neighbor's garden, hidden behind Mrs. Chen's rose bushes, until I saw Dad's car pull up hours later. My mind was reeling, trying to process what I'd heard. 3 years of lies, 3 years of performance. Every hug, every kind word, every moment of supposed love, all fake. That night at dinner, Vera served my favorite meal, spaghetti and meatballs with garlic bread, while announcing her pregnancy with theatrical excitement. Dad was overjoyed, spinning her around the kitchen and talking about nursery colors and baby names. I forced myself to smile and congratulate them, all while Vera squeezed my shoulder and declared, "Delilah's going to be the best big sister." She looked me dead in the eyes when she said it. The message was clear. Keep your mouth shut, or things will get worse for you. I played along, gushing about how excited I was to be a big sister, how I couldn't wait to help with the baby. But inside, I was falling apart. Everything I thought I knew about my family was a lie. For weeks, I said nothing. Who would believe me? Perfect Vera, who volunteered at the food bank every Saturday and brought soup to sick neighbors and organized charity drives at church. Perfect Vera, whose journal about my childhood was filled with loving observations and proud moments. Meanwhile, she continued her performance with renewed vigor. She bought me a Big Sister t-shirt and let me help paint the nursery a soft yellow. She took photos of us shopping for baby clothes and posted them on social media with captions about how blessed she felt to have such a wonderful stepdaughter. But late at night, when Dad was asleep and she thought I couldn't see, I caught glimpses of her true face. The way she'd glare at me when Dad wasn't looking, her expression full of cold hatred. How she'd accidentally bump into me in the hallway, hard enough to leave bruises on my ribs. How she'd move my belongings just slightly, making me feel like I was going crazy when I couldn't find things where I left them. Once, she cornered me in the laundry room while folding baby clothes. "Enjoying your last few months here?" she whispered, holding up a tiny onesie. "Because that's all you have left, sweetheart. I've already picked out your uniform for Mountain View Academy. Navy blue polyester." Very flattering. When I didn't respond, she stepped closer. "You know what the best part is? Your father will think it was his idea. He'll be so overwhelmed with the new baby that when I suggest you need more structure, more discipline, he'll practically beg me to find you a good boarding school." She smiled, and it was the most terrifying expression I'd ever seen. "I've been planting seeds for months. Little comments about how you've been moody lately, how you seem overwhelmed by the idea of sharing attention with a sibling. By the time I'm done, he'll think shipping you off to Montana is an act of mercy." The breaking point came 2 weeks later, when I found her going through my baby photos in the basement. She was sitting cross-legged on the floor, systematically tearing pictures in half and tossing them into a garbage bag. "We need space for real family memories," she muttered, not knowing I was watching from the stairs. I watched in horror as she destroyed photo after photo. Me as a toddler with Dad, my first day of kindergarten, Christmas mornings, birthday parties, years of my life disappearing into that black garbage bag. She held up a picture of me and Dad at a father-daughter dance when I was 10. In the photo, I was wearing a pink dress and Dad was spinning me around. We both looked so happy. "Pathetic," she said, ripping it down the middle. "Like father, like daughter." That's when I realized she wasn't just planning to send me away. She was trying to erase me completely. She wanted to remove all evidence that I had ever been part of this family, that I had ever mattered to Dad. I crept back upstairs and started planning my revenge. My phone became my weapon. I started recording everything. Her fake phone calls to boarding schools, her conversations with contractors about converting my bedroom into a nursery, her late-night rants to friends about how difficult stepmotherhood was. I documented her throwing away my belongings, claiming they were taking up space for the baby. I recorded her practicing concerned expressions in the mirror, rehearsing how she'd tell Dad about my supposed behavioral problems. I even caught her researching how to plant evidence that would make me look like I was using drugs. But the most damning evidence came from her own stupidity. The final piece came when Dad left for a 2-week business trip to Singapore. Vera thought I was asleep and called her sister Carmen in Phoenix, leaving a rambling, wine-fueled voicemail about her master plan. I pressed my ear to the heating vent in my room, phone recording, as her drunken voice carried up from the kitchen below. "Carmen, it's me. I know it's late, but I had to call. I'm so fucking close I can taste it. 2 more months and that little bitch will be out of my hair forever." She was slurring slightly, and I could hear wine glasses clinking in the background. "Dennis is wrapped around my finger. These pregnancy hormones have him treating me like a goddamn queen. I've been documenting every little thing, how she's been acting out, talking back, her grades slipping from A's to B's. I even planted some of my old anxiety pills in her backpack that I can discover if I need to escalate things." She laughed at her own cruelty, the sound echoing through the vents. "The best part? I've already forged his signature on the boarding school application. Mountain View Academy confirmed they have a spot for her starting in September. All I need is one good performance about how heartbroken I am to send my stepdaughter away for her own good. Dennis will eat it up with a fucking spoon." My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped the phone. "I've been the perfect stepmother for 3 years," she continued, her voice getting more animated. "Everyone adores me. Her teachers think I walk on water. The neighbors constantly tell me what a saint I am for taking on another woman's child. Even Dennis's parents think I'm a fucking miracle worker." She paused to take another drink. "Who's going to believe a 15-year-old over the woman who's been nothing but loving and patient? I have 3 years of documentation proving what a devoted mother I've been. Parent-teacher conferences, volunteer hours, medical appointments. I've been building my credibility while she's been building her dependency on me." The casual cruelty in her voice made me feel sick. "And the journal. Oh God, Carmen, the fucking journal is genius. 3 years of fake entries about how much I love her, how proud I am, what a blessing she's been. If anyone ever questions my motives, I have documentation of my devotion to that little parasite." I listened to her detail how she'd been slowly poisoning my relationship with Dad's family, how she'd been intercepting calls and letters from relatives who cared about me, how she'd been systematically isolating me from everyone who might support me. I told Dennis's sister that Delilah didn't want to talk to her anymore, that she was going through a phase where she only wanted to bond with me. Patricia was hurt, but she believed it. "They all believe everything I tell them because I'm just so fucking convincing." She laughed again, the sound making my skin crawl. "The hardest part has been pretending to care when she gets excited about stupid teenage shit. Do you know how many school plays I've had to sit through? How many soccer games where I had to cheer while she ran around like an uncoordinated deer? How many bedtime stories I've had to read while fighting the urge to smother her with the pillow?" My blood ran cold. But it's almost over. 2 more months of this charade and then it's just me, Dennis, and our real family. I'll finally get the life I deserve. And that little reminder of his failed first marriage will be someone else's problem. She paused. And when she spoke again, her voice was softer but somehow more chilling. "The baby will never even know she existed. I'll make sure of that. By the time he's old enough to ask questions, she'll just be some distant relative who went away to school. Dennis will be so wrapped up in being a father to his real child that he'll forget he ever had a daughter before me. I lay in bed afterward, phone clutched in my trembling hands, listening to her destroy my entire world with casual indifference. Every kind word, every hug, every moment of supposed love, all calculated manipulation designed to get close enough to Dad to destroy me. But I wasn't the same naive 12-year-old who had welcomed her into our home 3 years ago. I was 15, and I was done being anyone's victim. The next morning, she served me pancakes shaped like hearts, just like she had on my 13th birthday. "Sleep well, honey?" she asked sweetly, stroking my hair as I ate. "Like a baby," I replied, matching her fake smile perfectly. That's when I knew I had to act fast. She was planning to frame me for drug possession, forge documents, and manipulate my father into sending me away. I had maybe 2 weeks before Dad returned, and she put her plan into motion. I spent the next few days being the perfect daughter. I cleaned the house without being asked, cooked dinner every night using recipes I found online, and even gave Vera foot rubs while she complained about pregnancy discomfort. I massaged her swollen feet and listened to her talk about nursery themes and baby names, all while planning her destruction. She basked in the attention, completely unaware that I was documenting everything. I recorded her throwing away more of my belongings, trophies from middle school track meets, art projects I'd made in elementary school, birthday cards from relatives. I filmed her practicing fake tears in the mirror, rehearsing different versions of the conversation where she'd tell Dad about my supposed behavioral problems. "Dennis, I'm so worried about Delilah," she'd say to her reflection, dabbing at dry eyes with a tissue. "She's been so angry lately, so defiant. I think the baby is triggering some abandonment issues from when her mother left." She'd try different expressions, different inflections, perfecting her performance. I caught her researching signs of teenage drug use and how to stage an intervention. I filmed her hiding my anxiety pills, medication I'd never seen before, in various locations around my room, testing different spots to see which would look most convincing when she discovered them. But the most damning evidence came from her own stupidity and arrogance. 3 days before Dad's return, Vera called Mountain View Academy to confirm my enrollment. She thought I was at soccer practice, but I'd hidden in the basement storage room and was recording through the heating vents. The sound carried perfectly through the old house's ductwork. "Hi, this is Vera Morrison calling about Delilah Morrison's enrollment for the fall semester," she said in her professional voice, the one she used when talking to teachers or doctors. I listened as she gave them my full name, birth date, and even my social security number, information she could only have gotten by going through Dad's private files in his locked office. "Dennis will be calling to confirm payment soon," she told them. "We're just so heartbroken about this decision, but Delilah needs more structure than we can provide at home. She's been acting out since we announced the pregnancy, and we think some distance and professional guidance will be best for everyone." The admissions counselor apparently asked about my academic performance, because Vera launched into a rehearsed list of lies. Her grades have been slipping, and her teachers are concerned about her attitude. She's become defiant and argumentative, especially toward me. I think she's having trouble adjusting to the idea of sharing her father's attention. She paused, listening to something on the other end. "Oh yes. We've tried family counseling, but she refuses to participate meaningfully. She just sits there and glares at me. It's become quite hostile, and frankly, I'm worried about the safety of our unborn child." My mouth fell open. She was painting me as dangerous, potentially violent. "I found some pills in her room last week. I have no idea where she got them. When I confronted her, she became verbally abusive and stormed out of the house. We didn't see her for 6 hours. None of that had happened. She was creating an entire fictional version of me, a troubled teenager who needed to be removed from the home for everyone's safety." Dennis is devastated, of course. She's been the perfect daughter until recently, but something has shifted. "I think the boarding school environment will give her the structure and professional support she needs while allowing our family to heal." When she hung up, I heard her laughing to herself. "Stupid little bitch never saw it coming," she muttered. 2 more days, and she's out of my life forever." That night, I organized all my evidence into a comprehensive file. Audio recordings, video footage, screenshots of her search history, photos of her forged documents, everything chronologically arranged with timestamps and detailed descriptions. I also wrote a 10-page letter to Dad, explaining exactly what had been happening and why I'd kept quiet for so long. I included specific examples of her manipulation, her fake kindness in public versus her cruelty in private, and her elaborate plan to get rid of me. I documented every lie she'd told, every piece of my history she'd tried to erase, every moment of abuse disguised as love. But I wasn't done yet. I wanted witnesses. I wanted her humiliation to be as public as her performance had been. The day before Dad came home, I implemented the final phase of my plan. I called Dad's parents, his sister Patricia, his brother Michael, and his best friend from college, Dave. I told each of them I was planning a surprise welcome home party for Dad, and that it would mean so much to have the whole family there. "It's been such a hard time with the pregnancy and everything," I told them, playing up the innocent stepdaughter role. "Vera's been feeling a little overwhelmed, and I thought having everyone together would cheer her up." They all agreed immediately. Patricia even offered to bring her famous lasagna. I invited some of Dad's work colleagues who happened to be in town, the neighbors who thought Vera was a saint, and even our pastor from the church where she volunteered every weekend. Vera was thrilled when I told her about the party, thinking it was another opportunity to play the perfect wife and stepmother in front of an audience. "Oh, sweetheart, what a thoughtful idea," she gushed, hugging me tight. "This is exactly why it breaks my heart that you might need to go away to school. You're so considerate, so mature. I just want what's best for you." She was already laying the groundwork, letting me know that even in front of our guests, she'd be setting up her narrative about sending me away. She spent hours preparing, baking Dad's favorite chocolate cake from scratch, decorating the house with welcome home banners, and arranging flowers from her garden. She changed outfits 3 times, settling on a flowing maternity dress that emphasized her pregnancy while still looking elegant. I want everything to be perfect, she said, adjusting the dining room table for the 4th time. Your father works so hard for our family. He deserves to come home to something beautiful. Our family, not his family, our family. Because in her mind, I was already gone. That evening, everyone gathered in our living room. Dad walked through the door to a chorus of surprise and genuine delight at seeing his loved ones. Vera was in her element, playing hostess and accepting compliments about what a wonderful job she was doing taking care of everything while he was away. You're so lucky, Dennis, his mother said, watching Vera serve drinks and appetizers. Vera's such a natural at this family stuff. Delilah's been such a help too, Vera replied, pulling me close for a side hug. Though she's been going through a bit of a rough patch lately. Teenage years, you know. Sometimes I wonder if she needs more structure than I can provide. I watched her plant seeds of doubt in everyone's minds, preparing them for her eventual announcement that I was being sent away. She was so smooth, so practiced. If I didn't know the truth, I might have believed her myself. What kind of rough patch? Patricia asked, looking concerned. Oh, just typical teenage rebellion, Vera said with a sad smile. Acting out, grade slipping, some defiance toward authority. I think she's having trouble adjusting to the idea of a new baby in the house. She reached over and squeezed my hand sympathetically. We're looking into some options for additional support. Maybe a boarding school with a strong academic program and good counseling services. Sometimes a change of environment can be exactly what a young person needs. I watched Dad's face as she spoke. He looked surprised. This was clearly the first he was hearing about my supposed problems, or any plans for boarding school. But he trusted Vera completely, and she'd been there taking care of me while he was away. I hadn't realized things were that serious, he said slowly. I didn't want to worry you while you were working, Vera replied, playing the protective wife. But yes, it's been challenging. I think some professional guidance might be beneficial for all of us. Patricia looked skeptical. Delilah seems fine to me. She's the one who organized this whole party. She has good moments, Vera said quickly. But you're not here to see the day-to-day struggles, the attitude, the defiance. Just last week, I found some concerning items in her room. My heart pounded as she began building her case in real time, in front of everyone who mattered to Dad. After dinner, I helped serve coffee and dessert, playing the role of dutiful daughter while my stomach churned with anticipation. Everyone was relaxed and happy, sharing stories about Dad's trip and catching up on family news. When the conversation lulled, I stood up and clinked my spoon against my water glass. I'd like to make a toast, I announced, my voice steady despite my racing heart. Everyone raised their glasses expectantly while Vera beamed at me with pride. To Vera, who's taught me so much about the importance of family honesty, I said, looking directly at her. She nodded graciously, still smiling. Vera always says she loves me like her own daughter, I continued. So I thought tonight would be perfect to share something that really shows her true feelings about our family. The smile faltered slightly on her face, but she kept her composure. This is a voicemail Vera left her sister last week, when she thought I was asleep. I pulled out my phone and connected it to the Bluetooth speaker Dad had gotten for Christmas. Vera's face went completely white. She started to stand, but Dave was sitting next to her and didn't move out of the way. Delilah, I don't think, she began. I pressed play. Her drunken voice filled the room. Carmen, it's me. I know it's late, but I had to call. I'm so fucking close I can taste it. 2 more months and that little bitch will be out of my hair forever. The room fell into absolute silence, except for Vera's recorded voice detailing her entire plan. How she was going to frame me, manipulate Dad, and ship me off to boarding school in Montana. How she'd been faking her love for 3 years just to get access to Dad's money and property. How she'd forged his signature and planted drugs in my room. I'm not raising another woman's mistake, her voice continued, getting more vicious. Every time I see those eyes, those fucking manipulative eyes, I want to slap the smug right off her face. Dad's mother gasped audibly and dropped her coffee cup. It shattered on the hardwood floor, but no one moved to clean it up. Patricia had her hand over her mouth, staring at Vera in horror. Dad's face was cycling through confusion, disbelief, and slowly mounting rage. Dave had started recording with his own phone, but the recording wasn't done destroying Vera's life. Do you know how hard it's been, pretending to love that spoiled little princess? 3 years of fake hugs and fake bedtime stories, and fake interest in her stupid art projects. 3 years of, oh, Delilah, you're so talented, and oh, Delilah, you're so smart. I deserve a fucking Oscar. Michael stood up and moved between Vera and me, his protective instincts kicking in. The best part? Everyone thinks I'm a saint. Her teachers, the neighbors, even Dennis's parents think I'm mother of the fucking year. Who's going to believe a 15-year-old over the woman who's been nothing but loving and patient for 3 years? By the time the first recording ended, Vera was hyperventilating. She looked around the room at the disgusted faces of people who had respected and admired her just minutes before. That's taken out of context, she stammered, her voice shaking. I was drunk. I didn't mean any of that. I love Delilah. You all know how much I love her. There's more, I said calmly. I played the recording of her confirming my enrollment at Mountain View Academy, where she detailed fictional behavioral problems and painted me as a potential danger to her unborn child. Then came the audio of her practicing her fake tears and rehearsing different versions of her lies. Dennis, I'm so worried about Delilah. She's been so angry lately, so defiant. I think the baby is triggering some abandonment issues. Finally, I played the recording of her calling me a stupid little bitch after she thought she'd successfully manipulated everyone. The room was completely silent when the last recording ended. Even the baby seemed to sense the tension. Vera's hand was pressed to her stomach, and she looked like she might be sick. Dad stood up slowly, his hands shaking with rage. Get out, he said quietly. Dennis, please let me explain. Get out! he roared, his voice echoing through the house. Get out of my house right now! Several people flinched at the volume of his voice. I'd never heard him yell like that before. This is my house too, Vera shrieked, her mask finally slipping completely. My name is on the deed. I have rights. I've put 3 years of my life into this family. 3 years of lies, Patricia said, standing up. 3 years of manipulating my brother and abusing my niece. I never abused anyone, Vera screamed. I gave that ungrateful little brat everything. I treated her better than her own mother ever did. You documented fake behavioral problems to justify shipping her away, Michael shouted back. You planted drugs in her room. You forged Dennis's signature. Actually, Dave interjected. He was a lawyer. Prenups are wonderful things, especially ones that include morality clauses about fraud and abuse of family members. Vera's face crumpled as she realized her entire plan had backfired. Not only was she losing me and Dad, but she was about to lose everything she'd spent 3 years working toward. You planned this, she hissed at me, pointing an accusatory finger. You manipulative little bitch. You recorded private conversations. You set me up. I documented the truth, I replied calmly. Something you wouldn't recognize if it hit you in the face. I was trying to help you, she screamed. You needed structure. You needed discipline. I was going to make something of you. By destroying every trace of my existence? I asked. By throwing away my baby pictures and telling my family I didn't want to talk to them anymore? Dad looked confused. What's she talking about? Ask Aunt Patricia when she last talked to me, I said. Ask her about all the times she tried to call and was told I didn't want to speak to her. Patricia's face went white. Vera told me you were going through a phase. She said you only wanted to bond with her, that you found it hard to talk to your father's family because it reminded you of your mother's abandonment. I never said that, I replied. I haven't talked to you in over a year because she's been intercepting your calls and telling you lies. Dad turned to Vera, his expression murderous. You kept my daughter away from my family? I was protecting her, Vera insisted. She was confused, conflicted about her loyalties. I was helping her focus on our nuclear family instead of getting pulled in different directions. You were isolating her, Dad's mother said, her voice shaking with fury. You were systematically cutting her off from everyone who loved her so she'd have nowhere to turn when you got rid of her. That night, Vera packed her bags while Dad called his lawyer. The prenup was ironclad. Any attempt to defraud or abuse family members would result in immediate forfeiture of all claims to property or assets. Her pregnancy didn't matter. The fraud was documented. The marriage was over. She tried to take some of my belongings with her, things she'd claimed to love, artwork I'd made, photos of us together that she'd insisted on displaying. Dad stopped her at the door. Those belong to my daughter, he said coldly. The daughter you tried to destroy. She's not even your real daughter, Vera screamed, her final attempt to hurt him. She's damaged goods from your failed marriage. Our baby will be your real child. Dad stepped closer to her, and for a moment I thought he might actually hit her. She's been my real daughter since the day she was born, he said quietly. You've been nothing but a cancer in our lives. Over the next few weeks, the full extent of Vera's manipulation came to light. The boarding school confirmed they'd received a fraudulent application with a forged signature. The police found the drugs she'd planted in my backpack, anxiety pills that were traced back to her prescription. When they searched her belongings, they found detailed notes about how to stage evidence and manipulate family court proceedings. She was charged with fraud, forgery, child endangerment, attempted kidnapping, and conspiracy to commit perjury. The district attorney was particularly interested in the forged signature, which constituted identity theft. During the court proceedings, more victims came forward. Vera had done this before, to her first husband's daughter, whom she'd successfully shipped off to military school when the girl was 14. That girl, now 25 and named Rebecca, testified about years of psychological abuse that her father never knew about. She convinced my dad I was troubled, Rebecca said through tears. She made him believe I needed help, that I was acting out because of my mother's death. I spent 4 years at that school, coming home only for Christmas and summer breaks. By the time I graduated, my father and I were strangers. Rebecca's testimony was devastating. She described the same pattern of behavior, the initial love bombing, the gradual isolation from family, the manipulation of the father figure, and finally, the systematic destruction of the child's place in the family. She told my father I didn't love him anymore, Rebecca continued. She intercepted letters I sent from school, threw away gifts I made him in art therapy. When I came home for visits, she'd already filled my room with her crafting supplies. There was no space for me anymore. The judge was clearly disturbed by the pattern of predatory behavior. During sentencing, he called Vera a danger to children and families, and noted that her actions showed a complete lack of empathy and remorse. Vera got 3 years in prison, and a restraining order keeping her away from me, Dad, and the baby when it was born. The judge also ordered restitution for the therapy I'd need to process years of psychological manipulation. The baby, my half-brother Oliver, was born while she was incarcerated. Dad got full custody, and we hired a wonderful nanny named Beatrice who actually loves children. She's been with us for 2 years now, and she's never once suggested that anyone in our family needs to go anywhere. Beatrice has gray hair and kind eyes and makes the most amazing chocolate chip cookies. She reads Oliver bedtime stories with funny voices and takes him to the park every afternoon. When he's older, I'll tell him that his biological mother was sick and couldn't take care of him, but that he's surrounded by people who love him completely. 6 months after Vera's conviction, I received a letter from her in prison. It was 8 pages of rambling, self-pitying nonsense where she blamed me for ruining her life, claimed she really had loved me, and begged me to ask Dad to drop the restraining order so she could see her son when she got out. I know I made mistakes, she wrote, but everything I did was because I loved this family. I wanted us to be perfect, and sometimes that meant making hard choices. You were old enough to be independent, but Oliver needs his mother. Please don't punish an innocent baby for my errors in judgment. Errors in judgment. 3 years of calculated psychological abuse, and she called it errors in judgment. I wrote back with just 2 words. No thanks. I kept the letter though. Someday, when Oliver asks about his mother, I'll show him exactly what kind of person she really was. I'll let him decide for himself whether someone who sees abuse as errors in judgment deserves a place in his life. 3 years later, I'm 18 and starting college in the fall, at a school I chose, studying art therapy so I can help other kids who've been through what I experienced. Dad and I are closer than ever, and Oliver is the light of our lives. He's 3 now, obsessed with dinosaurs and train sets, and he calls me Dee Dee because he can't pronounce Delilah yet. Sometimes I catch Dad looking at me with this expression of profound regret, and I know he's thinking about all the signs he missed, all the ways Vera manipulated him. We've had long conversations about it in therapy, individual sessions for both of us, and family sessions together. I should have protected you, he said during one particularly difficult session. I should have seen what she was doing. She was good at what she did, I replied. She fooled everyone, not just you. Patricia thought she was wonderful. Grandma thought she was a saint. Even I believed her for 3 years. But you were a child, he said, his voice breaking. It was my job to keep you safe, and I brought her into our lives. I gave her access to you. Dr. Martinez, our family therapist, helped us work through the guilt and trauma. She explained that people like Vera are master manipulators who specifically target families with vulnerabilities. Single fathers, children who've been abandoned by a parent, people desperate for love and stability. She didn't choose your family randomly, Dr. Martinez explained. She identified exactly what you both needed most and provided it, building dependency and trust before revealing her true intentions. This is classic predatory behavior. Vera was released from prison last month. I heard through the courthouse grapevine that she's working at a gas station 2 towns over and living in a studio apartment above a laundromat. She's not allowed to contact us, but mutual acquaintances say she tells everyone who'll listen that she was the victim of a vindictive teenager's lies. According to Rebecca, who keeps tabs on her through social media, Vera has been trying to present herself as a wronged mother who lost custody through a conspiracy of lies. She posts vague memes about toxic families and false accusations, and shares articles about parental alienation syndrome. Sometimes I wonder if I should feel guilty about destroying her life so completely. Then I remember her voice on that recording, calling me a stupid little bitch while planning to drug me and ship me away. I remember watching her tear up my baby pictures and throw away 3 years of my childhood memories. I remember the cold hatred in her eyes when she thought no one was looking. I sleep just fine. Last week, I ran into her at the grocery store. I was home from my freshman year of college for spring break, shopping for ingredients to make Oliver's favorite cookies. She was in the checkout line ahead of me, looking older and harder, with cheap clothes and gray roots showing in her badly dyed hair. For a split second, I saw fear in her eyes, like she thought I might cause more trouble for her, might somehow extend her punishment even though she'd served her time. I had every legal right to ignore her. The restraining order had expired when she was released from prison. I could have pretended not to see her, could have moved to a different checkout line, could have treated her like the stranger she'd always been beneath the facade. Instead, I smiled and said, "Hope you're well, Vera." Because I am well. Better than well. I'm in college studying something I'm passionate about. I have a father who loves me unconditionally, and a little brother who thinks I hung the moon. I have friends who know my real story and support me completely. I have a future full of possibilities that she tried to steal from me, and she's exactly where she belongs. Alone, starting over at 42 with nothing to show for her years of manipulation, except a criminal record and a reputation that follows her everywhere she goes. Rebecca and I have become friends. We text regularly, sharing stories about our recovery and our relationships with our fathers. Her dad eventually realized what Vera had done to their family, and they've been rebuilding their relationship through therapy. It's been harder for them. She lost 4 crucial years of her adolescence to that military school, but they're making progress. The best revenge, Rebecca told me during one of our phone calls, is living well. She tried to destroy us, but we survived. We thrived. We became stronger than she ever expected us to be. She's right. Vera thought she was getting rid of a weak, dependent child who would disappear quietly into whatever institution she chose. Instead, she created someone who refuses to be silenced, who documents everything, who fights back when cornered. Oliver will grow up knowing that his big sister is someone who protects the people she loves, someone who stands up to bullies, someone who doesn't let anyone rewrite her story. And maybe that's the most important lesson of all, that love isn't about control or manipulation or possession. It's about believing in someone's right to exist, to take up space, to matter. Vera never understood that. She saw love as a performance, affection as a tool, family as a game to be won. She lost because she never realized that real love doesn't require you to destroy someone else to prove your worth. Sometimes, late at night when Oliver has a nightmare and crawls into my bed, I think about how different his life would have been if Vera had succeeded. He would have grown up with a mother who saw children as obstacles to overcome, who viewed love as conditional, who believed that some people mattered more than others. Instead, he's growing up in a house where his big sister reads him stories and helps him build Lego castles, where his father comes to every school play and soccer game, where our nanny Beatrice teaches him that grown-ups should be safe and predictable and kind. He'll never remember the first 3 months of his life, when his biological mother was in prison and his family was healing from her betrayal. He'll grow up thinking that families naturally support each other, naturally celebrate each other's successes, naturally protect each other from harm. And maybe that's the real victory. Not just that I survived Vera's attempt to erase me, but that I helped create a home where Oliver will never have to question whether he's loved, whether he belongs, whether someone is plotting to get rid of him. That's something she'll never be able to take away.